It's on recording, right? Sir?
I'm not sure. I
Yes,
can.
yes, it is.
Yes, okay. Okay. Let's just make this a big screen. Yes. Okay. So good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to this talk on introduction of Indian philosophy and Yoga Sutras. Thank you one and all for making time for this talk. And I believe you really are genuinely interested to know about the Indian philosophy and the Yoga Sutras. With that, let's begin with a small prayer of Maharshi Patanjali. Please sit straight, back straight, spine erect. If you're wearing spectacles like me, you can keep it away. Bring your hands to Pranamasana. Close your eyes. Take in a deep breath. Exhale longer. You can just stay with me with the prayer. Om. योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचा मनं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोतं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिमानतोऽस्मि ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Then rub your palms and release your pranamasana and please turn your closed eyes gently. Open your hands and look at your palms. Thank you all once again for joining the session. The whole prayer meaning is, to the best sage of all who purified the mind through yoga, the speech by grammar, and the body by Ayurveda. To that Patanjali, I bow with my hands in prayer. So this is the meaning of the prayer. I'm sure some of you have heard me doing this during my classes. So this is the meaning of the prayer. We'll go further. For a small introduction of ourselves, this is me. I'm Dr. Yashaswini Biraj. I'm a dentist by education, but now I'm a full-time Hatha Yoga teacher and practitioner. Why? Because I love what I do. And I'm the founder of Yoga Yashas. And we have our guest speaker, who is my very dear friend and a classmate too, Goma Vivek. He's a Navy veteran. He's an engineering by profession and a yoga practitioner, an avid practitioner of Patanjali Yoga Sutras. A little more about him. So his interest in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras was kindled whilst pursuing his PG diploma in yoga. Ever since, the text has been a constant source of inspiration to him to try and understand the practical correlation of the very profound Indian philosophical systems in everyday life. So apart from teaching yoga, Vivek sir has also interests in running, cycling, aerobics, and strength training, which he combines to keep himself fit. This is surely a very short introduction about him. He's also a TEDx speaker, and I must say, a very knowledgeable man. And that's why I have pulled on him for this program. So that's a small introduction about us. And straight diving into the topic of today, which is the Indian philosophy. What is Indian philosophy? Indian philosophy denotes the philosophical speculation of all Indian thinkers or all Indian thinkers who are both modern and ancient, who are both theists and atheists, that is, one who believe in God and who do not believe in God. Therefore, there's a constant idea of search of truth in the Indian systems of philosophy. And therefore, I must say, when the search of truth comes, that's why this philosophy is called as a darshana, that is a vision, something which has to be seen or experienced. One cannot tell, even if I tell you it is like this, I felt like this. It's only when you experience, you'll understand the pure essence of it. That's why it's called as a darshana. It's a very beautiful word, which cannot be, which I don't know how to express more, a vision. So here we have two foundational branches, which is the Astika Darshana and the Nastika Darshana. Astika is the orthodox system. Here they accept the authority of Vedas. So there is no God principle here. We'll go directly here to Vedas because in Astika philosophy, they accept the authority of Vedas. Whereas in Nastika, that is heterodox, they reject this Vedic thought. They do not believe in this. That's why these two foundational branches. Out of this, in Astika Darshana, there are Shad Darshanas. That means there are 6 schools of philosophy, which further on Sir will take. To just kind of brief on that, there is Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa, which comes under the Vedanta, and the Yoga and the Sankhya. So all this comes under the Astika Darshana, which is the orthodox, that is, we believe in the authority of Vedas. And the next is Nastika. Like I said, they do not believe in the Vedic thought. And who are these? No further, throwing some light on the Nastika Darshana. First comes the Jainism. And the origin of Jainism go much, much before the prehistoric times. So the faith had a line of propagators, about 24 Tirthankaras, and the 24th Tirthankara is the Mahavira. I think most of us know about Mahavira. So they believe, or their philosophy believes, Parasparo Upagraha Jivanam. That is, all life is bound together by mutual support and interdependence. That is, understanding the nature of living beings, effects of karma on the living beings, and ways to liberate living beings from this cycle of birth and death. So this is what the Jainism school of philosophy believes in. That is one of the Nastika Darshana. The second is the Buddhism. Let's go to Buddhism. So I'm sure most of you know about who is the founder of Buddhism. And the Buddha system of philosophy started from Gautama Buddha. The main thing they say is attachment causes suffering. This is the pure thought from Buddhism. Attachment causes suffering. And how can you come out of this? Full liberation from suffering is through meditation and moral practices. Let me just allow some people in who are just waiting. Going back again to Buddhism, what Buddha's philosophy says is attachment causes suffering, and the way out is through meditation and some moral practices. The third one is the Charvaka system. We have learned about Jainism and the Buddhism. Charvaka, comes much later than the Jainism and the Buddhism. The word Charvaka itself means a materialist, a person who is materialist, right? This is the ancient school of Indian materialism. The founder is Brihaspati. And like I said, it comes much later than the Jainism and Buddhism. And very, very simple. They are very clear, or they don't want to mess up the brain too much. They do not believe in karma. They do not believe in rebirth or afterlife. So there was one teacher of ours who used to tell, "Khao piyo mauj karo." This is kind of attitude towards life. There is no complications of what's karma, what is rebirth. They don't go into this kind of philosophy at all. Very simple, straight. So this is the Charvaka system of philosophy. These three, the Jainism, Buddhism, Charvaka, comes under the Nastika Darshana. Going further into Astika Darshana, which I said the Shad Darshanas, from here on, Vivek sir will take on the talk and throw more light upon the bigger aspect where yoga also plays a greater role. Thank you, everyone. From here, sir, it's all yours.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you everyone for being here, for taking your time out on a Sunday evening. These are very, very interesting subjects, very ancient knowledge, and we all should be very happy that it's gaining traction than what it was earlier. The Astika Darshanas, as we have just heard, they accept the authority of the Vedas. It's not that they completely depend on the Vedas, but then the main tenets are by and large incorporated into the philosophy or into the individual philosophies. They share concepts like dharma, kama, karma, samsara, dukkha or suffering, birth and death cycles, that is reincarnation, letting go or renunciation, and dhyana or meditation. So, in the Astika school of in the Astika schools, there are totally six which are grouped into two each, and so they form three pairs. The oldest being Samkhya. However, they are coupled as Nyaya and Vaiseshika because they share some common foundations. Then the Purva Mimamsa and the Uttara Mimamsa or Vedanta. And lastly, Samkhya as well as Yoga. Nyaya and Vaiseshika, Nyaya talks about the theory of logic and the methodology. Now, all these philosophies move towards liberation, but it's just a path, and the path is also based on what are the types of comprehension. Some philosophies talk about comprehensions being of 3 categories or 5 categories. Some talk about 7 categories. So this is the basic classification with which these philosophies get divided into. But ultimate goal is liberation or moksha. Nyaya is attributed to Akashabauda Gautama. He is supposed to have authored the Nyaya Sutras. Vaiseshika, on the other hand, is a theory of atomism. So it is probably of more antiquity than the Greek atomic theories. So in Sanskrit, an atom is called as a Kan. That is originated from the sage who propounded this theory. He is Kanal. Again, he is also believed to be between 6th century BCE and 2nd century BCE. The next school of thought is Purva Mimamsa. Purva Mimamsa is essentially a study of ritualistic action. So it is heavily dependent on the Vedic rituals. The sutras for this particular philosophy were authored by Jaimini. The next, one of the most popular forms of philosophy or Indian philosophy is Vedanta. It is also called as Uttaramimamsa. It is Vedanta. It's split into Veda and Anta, the conclusion of the Vedas. Vedanta philosophy is based on a group of 3 sets of books. They are together called as Prasthanatrayi. They form the basis of Prasthanatrayi means when you are moving away from your body, when you are on your Prasthana. So you have 3 books which will help you move towards your emancipation. So these 3 books are Bhagavad Gita, the Brahma Sutras, and Upanishads. We know that there are enough number of Upanishads. So these 3 categories, they engulf the most of Vedantic thought. As far as Brahma Sutras are concerned, which talk about this particular philosophy, they are credited to the sage Badarayana. Now, if you have seen, by and large, all the antiquities are dated from 4th century or 6th century BCE to the 2nd century BCE or CE. This we need to take it with a pinch of salt that there is no concrete evidence of the historical authors, primarily because all our traditions were oral. And after some time, they were sort of codified and then written down. So while the texts have been attributed to the sages and they are accurate, but historical evidence is very acutely lacking. Now, Samkhya and Yoga are, as we discussed, one pair. Before we get into before we get into Yoga, a little bit of Samkhya is necessary for us to understand. Samkhya is the oldest school of Indian philosophy, and the references are found across almost all philosophies and the Upanishads, Puranas, as well as Mahabharata. So some of you who are conversant with Bhagavad Gita will know that there is a chapter called as Samkhya Yoga, which is discussed by Lord Krishna with his favorite disciple Arjuna. Samkhya is the founder is supposed to be Maharshi Kapila, and he was supposed to have authored two texts called as the Samkhya Sutras and Samkhya Pravachana Sutras. And we are very, very unfortunate to that extent that both of these texts have been lost in time. However, since these texts also survived from one brain to another brain, passed on from a guru to Sishya, in the oral tradition, the thought still survived. So we have Samkhya Tarika by Ishwara Krishna, which is supposed to be the oldest available authority or authoritative text on Kapila's Samkhya. Samkhya now is essentially a dualistic philosophy. That means it says that there are two realities in the world, in the samsara that we are in. Two realities. They are, one is Purusha, which is pure consciousness, and the other is Prakriti, which is nature or matter. These entities have existed from the beginning of time and will exist till the end of time. They exist simultaneously. They are supposed to be very independent, but they become independent in some way because that is in the nature. Now, the philosophy says that at some point in time, Prakriti, when it is closer to Purusha, it gives you some elements. And the main aspect of it is that Prakriti needs to be dissociated from Purusha with the right kind of knowledge. That is Viveka Khyati, or a discrimination which will make you understand that this is Prakriti, but Prakriti is not what I am, and I am the Purusha. Coming to the Purusha, the first primordial entity, it's pure consciousness. It is the subject. It is the observer of what is going on. He is non-participative, absolutely. He, she, it. And there is no causation, there is no change which this Purusha undergoes. It's beyond space, beyond time. Uh, to understand Purusha a little more fundamentally, Purusha is not something which can be known or experienced, because consciousness as a quality or as a feature or as an entity is supposed to be inherent. So you cannot know what is consciousness. You can only experience consciousness. So the journey of emancipation or moksha is what is called as self-realization and not acquiring knowledge. It is basically letting go of what you thought was knowledge and then realizing that what is not the knowledge, that is moving towards the self or the Purusha. The second primordial entity is Prakriti or matter. Prakriti comprises of three qualities or three gunas which are always changing. In its normal self, they are, in a homogeneous proportion. Sattva is associated with purity and the color white. Rajas is associated with activity, and tamas is associated with inertia. All these three are supposed to be ever active, and they are supposed to be in a balance, in homogeneity. But when Prakriti, because of its movement, comes in proximity to Purusha, then there is an evolution taking place, because the composition, or the to more basically put, the percentage of individual qualities, triguna, sattva and tamas, basically change, and you have certain evolutes coming out. Okay, we have something. Can you see this picture, please? All of you who understand what this picture is, can you please put in a yes in the chat box? I think it has been a fairly simple feature for all of us. We have studied it in school. The Darwin's theory of evolution of human beings as what we are from uh, our ancestors or apes. Why I brought this out is to show you that this is from an evolution standpoint. It is an observer who's observing it over a scale of time, starting from some billion years before to the present day. So essentially, it's a factor of time, and it is an observer's inference of how the evolution would have taken place. Okay. Uh, an important feature, what we need to understand here is that the observer's senses are implicit. That means the observer is assumed to have all his senses intact, and he's making these observations over a period of time. Okay, just keep this in mind. I have another question for you. How many of you are you familiar with this book, *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari? Can you please punch in a yes? It's a very beautiful book. It documents how humankind has evolved over the last thousands of years. In this, he gets one aspect very, very correctly. He talks about four revolutions essentially, and the first one is a cognitive revolution. A cognitive revolution is something wherein we started looking at ourselves as, yes, I have my own mind. And that was also the origin of some concepts for which there was no proof. For example, God. Okay. It was also the beginning of certain ideas which have been made to be believed, but they were not essentially existing in reality. They were something which were concocted or made up. Okay, so the timeline attributed is around 70,000 years before. So here he gets it right in the sense that the human mind went beyond what was existing around it. It came up with ideas. So that is where it becomes important that you started having your own senses coming into play and telling you things which you not only saw, but which you experienced. This is the theory of evolution of Samkhya, which is very important for us to understand. We spoke about Prakriti when it is in the proximity of Purusha. It gives certain evolutes. So if you see, this is a sensory evolution. First, what comes out is the sattvic quality or a sattvic feature evolute called as buddhi. Then comes ahamkara, the egoism or the sense of who you are, I. Then the manas. Then the jnanendriyas and karmendriyas. Jnanendriyas are these senses that give you knowledge or which enable certain features to analyze. These are these organs which will transmit some information to the manas, ahamkara and buddhi complex for them to be comprehended. Now, how do you sense these? You have the karmendriyas, which are participating in certain actions and enabling these particular senses to move towards your comprehension. Now, what exactly are they sensing? They are sensing two things, which are the tamasic evolutes of Prakriti. They are the Panchamahabhutas or the five great elements of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. They are certain subtle elements which are associated with these Mahabhutas. They are the smell, taste, sight, touch, and hearing. So if you look at it from the reverse order, these Mahabhutas, they existed, they exist, and they are existing. You have these subtle elements which are the qualities of these Mahabhutas. They are being sensed and they are being processed, and then they are being sent to the Manas, Buddhi, and Ahamkara complex. These three together can be termed as consciousness or consciousness in the English sense, not in the philosophical sense of Purusha. So far, are we okay? I hope we are okay. If there is anything, please write it down. We can discuss some questions at the end of the session, please. As I said, this is a sensory evolution. What we saw in the Darwin's theory of evolution is it is more of an observation. Okay. While when we talk about the Samkhya theory of evolution, it is much more subjective. It pertains to you and how developed your senses are. So here I would like to just highlight one aspect when we compare the Western thought as in comparison with the Eastern thought. Eastern thought is much more subjective, much more subtle, because it all boils down to an individual's experiences. While the Western thought, the Western philosophy is much into yardsticks, or they need to have metrics, they need to have proof for everything. So this is a very fundamental difference which we need to understand as far as the philosophical concepts of the Western part of the world go, and when we compare them with the Indian thought or the Eastern thought as a generic subject. Having seen the basic evolution of Samkhya, yoga is a later development of Samkhya. It is attributed to Maharshi Patanjali. It is largely based on the metaphysics of Samkhya. So you have this quality of Purusha and Prakriti. It is a process of self-discipline where one needs to move towards the realization of the self. In fact, it is also considered as a practical application of Samkhya. Samkhya is considered more theoretical, but yoga is supposed to apply certain practices which will enable you to realize the self. This darshana has been discussed in about 195 or 196. Certain commentators mention 195, while some mention about 196. But by and large, the essence has been captured by almost all the commentators. Maharshi Patanjali, who is credited to be the author of Yoga Sutras, again, as what we had discussed while discussing the Astika Darshanas in general, nothing is known about the historical author. Actually, there is no evidence. Whatever we know about is purely anecdotal or from legends. He's supposed to be an incarnation of the serpent king Ananta, who is also a manifestation of Lord Vishnu. But when you read the Yoga Sutras over a period of time, you develop a mental construct of how this person would have actually been. So there is this very famous expert on Yoga Sutras called George Feuerstein, a German. And he gives a very beautiful description of Patanjali Maharshi to be a very systematic thinker, because that is how he has structured the Yoga Sutras in a very systematic manner, from one topic to the other, from by defining something, then giving its cause, and how to remove those causes. He's also considered to be a genuine renunciant, because the Yoga Sutras are devoid of any emotion. That means there is a total detachment from the human self, and going purely from the worldly view to the view of the self or self-realization. So while the metaphysics is largely theory, he was somebody who managed to get this metaphysics into practice. Like all the other texts that we have seen, even yoga has certain commentators who have explained in detail what the Yoga Sutras mean. What I forgot to tell you is that a sutra, or an aphorism, as it is called, it's a very dense form of words which have been grammatically put to give you some sense. But for a layman to understand the depth of knowledge, it becomes very difficult, because they're very terse, absolutely terse. So there have been a lot of learned scholars who have explained what individual sutra would mean. So you have Vyasa, who has written the Yoga Bhashya. Then you have Vachaspati Mishra, Vijnana Bhikshu, Bhojaraja, Ramananda Saraswati, Hariharananda Aranya. These were some of the ancient ones. Hariharananda Aranya was in the 19th century, in somewhere between 1850s to about 1947 or so. Incidentally, he claims that his guru was from the Patanjali school of yogins. You also have modern commentators like Swami Vivekananda, A.K. Iyengar. They have written very, very beautiful explanations about what the Yoga Sutras actually are. Coming to the Yoga Sutras, as such, we saw that there were about 195 Yoga Sutras. Now they are split into 4 different parts or padas. First is the Samadhi Pada, which has about 51 sutras. It gives you the definition of what is yoga, then how does the chitta or the mind get affected, and how can you remove them, what are the results that you see. Next is the Sadhana Pada, which is sadhana, as we all acknowledge, it's practice. There are 55 sutras. It talks about types of yoga. It gives you the definitions of something called as Kriya Yoga, and also the most popular that we all know today as Ashtanga Yoga. Then there are certain afflictions which sort of form obstacles during the cause or during the practice. How are you supposed to move away from these, and what happens when you move away? The next set of sutras are called as the Vibhuti Pada. There are 55 sutras again in this. Now, Sadhana Pada is which gets your body and mind in some order, some particular shape. And once you move from then, you move inwards towards concentration and meditation. That is when the realization of the self becomes more and more intense. When you are on this particular path, you realize that there are certain special abilities which start coming to the fore. It's like you're able to visualize some aspects. You're able to visualize what a particular person is thinking right at that moment. You're able to appreciate what your previous lives have been. You're able to appreciate, you have been able to generate some amount of power to levitate. These are actually written, while they might seem too absurd for us in the present day. But if you have an open mind, maybe they are not. The last one is Kaivalya Pada. It has 34 sutras. It talks about the final stages, what Kaivalya means, what is the definition of Kaivalya. So the structure goes as with the definition of yoga. From the definition, the factors that affect you in the yogic path. To remove these factors, what are the practices that you're supposed to do? Again, during these practices, what are the afflictions that trouble you? What are the causes of these troubles? Once you're able to get all of these under control, then you start moving inwards. And once you move inwards, you are in touch. You slowly come in touch with the awakened ones. They are called as siddhas, the enlightened ones who are supposed to be roaming free in the cosmos. After a certain level of practice, if you have been able to do it over and over again, you move towards the final stages wherein you have removed all your samskaras or your latent impressions, subliminal impressions that you have that make up you as a personality, which have been carried forward from one birth to another birth, and you move towards something called as Kaivalya, which is pure consciousness. It's a very, very beautifully explained text, very terse and very, very intense. So just to avoid all too much of jargon in this particular thing, we have restricted it to only 3 sutras for the time being, as we are considering this as the first session. So the first and foremost sutra, which Patanjali Maharshi writes, he says, Atha Yoga Anushasanam, means now begins the discipline of yoga or the exposition of yoga. It all begins now. There are various explanations given to what is the meaning of this sutra. It means that Patanjali Maharshi is telling you that, okay, now I'm telling you what has been handed over from generations before. It also means that, okay, I have now finished with grammar and Ayurveda, and now I am going to tell you what is yoga all about. In Indian literature, ancient literature, there is we spoke about philosophy, but if you just look at the exegetical literature that exists, it is, I mean, this literature is divided into 2 halves, something called as Dharma Shastras, which tell you how you're supposed to live your life. And then there are Moksha Shastras, which take you towards liberation. So all these philosophies are part of Moksha Shastra. And now Patanjali is sort of telling us that, okay, now this is the time that you need to start moving towards Moksha Shastra. There is never a particular time when you're supposed to start it. The day you start it, it begins then. The next sutra that he talks about is the definition of what is exactly yoga. According to Patanjali Maharshi, yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. Chitta is loosely a combination of the buddhi, ahamkara, manas complex that we saw. Altogether, in the Western thought, it is looked at as the mind. But yes, in Indian philosophy, they are demarcated separately, which I kind of personally agree with, because the manas is more like a television, as what they say. It is just processing images and it is sending them to the ahamkara. The ahamkara is the sense of being I, my identity. It is what today I as Vivek, or you as you are identifying yourself as an individual. That is your ahamkara. Okay. So that is what is processing, and that is sending that information back to the buddhi, or the discrimination that exists in you. Now, this discrimination is something which is telling you whether to do something or not do something. Okay. So these combination of buddhi, ahamkara, and manas is called as chitta. Now, there are some things which trouble the chitta. Trouble here is not necessarily in the negative way, because these fluctuations which sort of afflict the chitta can be harmful, or they needn't be, because pure comprehension needn't be harmful. Some things might be harmful, but not everything is harmful. But notwithstanding all that explanation, they are considered as vrittis because they start giving impressions onto your mind. Now, these impressions, which have been built up over years or over our many lives, they need to be removed so that the Purusha can move to its true state. Now, how can we do this? We can do it by regular practice, constant practice, and detaching ourselves from our actions. So, while we all have been told that yoga is the union of the self, or the individual self with the supreme self, in fact, in Yoga Shastra or Yoga philosophy, Yoga Darshana, it is basically the detachment of Prakriti from Purusha and getting Purusha to its true state. So getting Purusha to its true state, that is supposed to be the culmination. And when do you say that the journey of yoga culminates? It culminates when Purushartha Shunyanam Gunanam Pratiprasava Kaivalyam Swarupa Pratishtava Chitishaktiriti. That means Purushartha Shunyanam, whatever was meant for the Purusha to be realized, that becomes zero. When does that become zero? When the knowledge that has been acquired has come to the ultimate level. Then the Trigunas also would have got involuted. Pratiprasava. Prasava in our language means to give birth to or to give something out. Pratiprasava is a reverse involution or a reverse evolution or involution. So the gunas go back to their homogeneous combination. When that happens, or the power of awareness or the Purusha gets established in its own true form, then Kaivalya is supposed to be attained. Kaivalya is not exactly Samadhi. Samadhi is a precursor to Kaivalya. Once Samadhi state is achieved over a period of time wherein you are able to hold your mind still, you still have to remove certain impressions that exist in your mind, your samskaras. Once all of those are removed, then you achieve the state of Kaivalya, which is derived from the word Kevala, which means to remain alone in its own pristine state, or it remains completely isolated, dissociated. So the Purusha, once it is dissociated from Prakriti, then you are supposed to be in the ultimate state of yoga. So there we finish our talk for today. So I hope while the subject was too vast, we have tried to condense it into something which is more palatable to a generic audience. I myself do not belong to the arts and humanities. I'm a total technical person into engineering and into practical aspects. So I have tried to simplify whatever little bit that I could gain over a period of time and sort of share it with you all. Should you have any questions, we would be more than happy to take them forward. Ma'am, I'm stopping to share my screen now.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. That was a great presentation. Anyone with questions? Anything? Some of them had raised their hands. If you want to ask anything now, you can go ahead.
Yeah, you can please unmute yourself, and if it's okay, you can please
You can also share
your
about.
camera on, and if there's anything else to share, also please feel free to share.
Yes. Was the message conveyed well?
Or did it seem too esoteric as what it usually is? Or were you able to gain something from this talk? We have
Hello. A small incident about somebody is, yes, please go ahead.
Sorry. Thank you for the lecture, Yashaswini and Vivek. For me, I mean, this is very good understanding the philosophical view of Yoga Sutras and the present day yoga. But for the people who are really, I mean, who are not aware of any of these things, how would you suggest, I mean, the ways of giving an idea to them? I mean, what is the starting point? Is it reading all the literature, or is it some sort of, just how can we show them the way to start thinking in that direction? Practicing yoga or reading some literature or anything else, if you advise.
This, in my opinion, these need involvement with respect to reading. Because this is not openly available. Even if it is openly available, you should be ready to go and pick it up.
Yeah.
So an introduction always helps. Thereafter, once you start reading about it, then there is much more. You realize that the entire science has been built up on
I mean,
something very, very foundational.
Yeah, is there any? Yeah, sorry, go on. I was just asking, is there any good introductory book to start with?
Yes, there is. There's one.
There are a lot of books. There are a lot of books. I am typing it in the chat box too.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
I have one here. This is the Introduction to Indian Philosophy.
Okay, can you just put it in the group or the chat, please?
I think it's
Thank you.
basically when one gets interested in this topic, which I was when I started my yoga PG. So that's when my first alignment towards yoga was through this theory aspect. I think much later came the practice. So yes, what sir is typing, Yoga Sutras by Swami Vivekananda is more easier to understand actually.
We also have Light on Yoga Sutras by B.K. Iyengar, which I personally find a very, very nice book in the way he has explained some concepts.
Yes.
This would be of help to start with in the subject.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So believing that this will be the first session, to know more about this, we'll continue with more sessions with respect to Yoga Sutras. Now that we've just started Yoga Sutras and then just introduced you to the Indian philosophy, to know a little more vastly about this, we'll go on with some more sessions depending on the liking of each one of you who have attended and more.
Krishnamurti sir had something to ask. Sir,
Yes.
you had something to ask, sir? Krishnamurti sir?
Yes, and Piyush Das sir says quite simply, explain. As a primer, it's really welcoming. Thanks to both of you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Piyush, for your encouragement. Srilata ma'am has got something. Ma'am, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is Srilata. Thank you so much, both of you, for giving us a brief, the understanding about the session. It is my first session. Normally, I haven't attended these sessions, but yes, Miss Rajeshwari has sent me this. So I was quite interested in these things. So thank you for the information, like which I maybe I haven't. What do I say? I would have not known things. What all I like, maybe you have told about this Yoga Sutras. I'm so happy that I'll get chance in future also to attend the sessions and know more about it, and also inculcate, and hopefully it will help. Building up the positive thinking in me and also around me.
Definitely, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Forward to doing more sessions, and we will keep the circulation on. It's definitely something that we, as being from this place where it has originated from, it's sad that not many of us know about it. That is,
Yes.
it's we intend to do our bit in making people aware about
Yes,
what
yes.
exactly our forefathers taught us.
Thank you so much.
And for actually, I must say for yoga practitioners, because I have some of my students here, knowing this basics or the foundation of yoga greatly helps in your practice. I mean, to practice the right way and not just with respect to the physical aspect of yoga, of whatever asana per se. This acts as a great foundation for regular practitioners. And I think you'll practice with a sense of holistic well-being, and it brings things together, and not just seem to the 1 hour practice and finish off. Okay, I'm done with this. Approaching the right way.
We have one more person who's raised his hand. Zamoran, is that Sundar? Is that you?
Yes, Vivek. So nice to meet you again after a long time.
Thank you, Sundar. Thank you for being here, taking the time.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and it was really interesting. So this only single thought which comes to my mind is like, especially me, I have attended yogas from a practical side for a well-being, and also a little bit of meditation. How this, as a yoga, is it only the physical way of doing yogas and the theory and the meditation? All these three are part of yoga, and how it goes hand in hand. That is first question. Second question is very interesting. Is that uh, as a technical person, I know you. What is that pivot point which made you to dive deep into this? What is that trigger point? What made you to dive deep into this?
Okay.
Like
To
today.
answer to answer your first question, uh, I was mentioning about 195 sutras we have in the Yoga Sutras. But then there are only 3 sutras which have been allocated to explain what is an asana. Okay. As far as the philosophy is concerned, that is the amount of importance that is given. Even when you read Swami Vivekananda, he says that the aim of this is to be able to sit in a position that you're able to concentrate on. Okay, so he doesn't tell you that you should be able to do complicated asanas, twist your body and be a contortionist. No, that is not what it is all about. But the evolution of asanas is from a physical point of view that in our we have a saying, which says deham khalu dharma sadhanam, means you need to have a healthy body to achieve something. So for us to move on to this path, you first have to take care of your body, so that once the body is healthy, then you are supposed to then you will be able to move higher up. You will be able to elevate your mind from the mundane activities to something much more higher. So the consciousness to move towards super consciousness, first it needn't bother about how the body is. So to achieve that, the easiest way is to take care of the body first. Once you have achieved a state wherein you're able to control how your body is, then probably there are enough saints who have just lived on, by breathing air. And okay, so these are not anecdotes; these are actual facts. But yeah, they're very, very far and few, and they don't go around propagating that they are able to do this or that, because that is something which yoga as a tradition prohibits people from saying what kind of powers that they have been able to develop. Okay, so as far as physical aspect is concerned, this is what. And then more importantly, once you are healthy, you are able to spend more and more time in meditation, and that is what is more important in this particular journey. Coming to the next point, I hear you said that what was my pivot? You asked me for my pivotal point. Uh, I got into this journey of fitness, but yoga has been something which my father used to practice, but I never got into it. But somewhere during my training time, one of my gurus, we used to stay next door to each other. Unfortunately, he's no more. He got me initiated back. So I used to practice a set of asanas every day since I was in my third year of engineering. In 2016, I just thought that, I should study a little bit because I was into fitness and sports. So I thought that I should learn a little bit about breathing. Then I realized that this whole game is about breathing. And we hardly know how to breathe. So that's how it started. And more than breathing, then I got much more interested into Yoga Sutras because of the profound amount of knowledge. I mean, if somebody has written it in that form, then that means he would have been so adept in it that he's probably God. So that is the feeling that gets invoked in me every time I happen to read some amount of Yoga Sutras. I hope have I been able to answer your questions?
Yes, Vivek, that's a great insight. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's anybody else who would like to share anything, please feel free. This is not only a question answer session. We are all learners.
Yes, and here Ravikant Pulipati says it's my first introduction to yoga theory. Looking forward to more simplistic and practical sessions. Of
We'll
course.
try to make it more simple. We try to cut down all jargon, the technical terms, but yeah, we couldn't avoid some. We will try to cut down further and try to make it even simpler. Thank you, Baba.
Yes. And Preeti Singh says, thank you for the session. I especially like the theory of evolution and the sensory evolution bit. And I'm particularly interested in how to let go or release the impressions on the mind. I'm
You'll
hoping
have
to
to find
have
a guru.
a breakthrough in the following sessions.
Ma'am, you'll have to find a guru.
You're on mute, Preeti.
Hello,
Please
sir.
feel free to,
I have been, yes, now can you hear me?
Yes,
yes.
yes. Preeti.
Yeah, I have been telling Yeshu that I need to find a guru, I need to find a guru. See, ask her how many times I've told her. Zillion times I've told her. But I didn't know the answer to this will also be a guru.
When the time is right, you will find one, ma'am.
Yes, yes. Actually, they say also, no, the guru will find you.
So
Yes, you did tell me
I'm
that.
also waiting for the day, moment when my guru finds me.
Me also. Me also. We all are in search of our guru and waiting for the
Be
guru
very
to find
soon.
us.
Okay.
Lovely. So anyone else? Anybody have anything to share or you have any questions? Thank you, Ujjwala ma'am. Thank you, Shashi Sharda. Thank you, everyone, for your very liberal and good comments about our first try on this introduction. From now on, it'll be Yoga Sutras only. And each Yoga Sutra, it's like a chain. It's like a chain, and every money is like a diamond. It's like a pearl, and pearl of knowledge, pearls of knowledge. It's a string of. That's why it's called sutra. So every sutra is so vast and dynamic. But from the next session onwards, as we introduce, we will go maybe 3 or 4 sutras as per Sir. And we hope to see all of you again. And let's learn together as we try to.
If there are,
we know little.
yeah, if there have been any mistakes from our end, please do forgive us for that. We have tried to keep it as simple as possible. We will further endeavor to
Yes.
make
and
it.
of evolution, going back to what we were just discussing when the sensory evolution, when I was studying, just a small deviation from this, like when we started studying the Yoga Sutra, Yoga Indian philosophy, and this part was which kind of stopped me into understanding the whole evolution theory, or because it's so nicely given branches of mind, the manas, the buddhi, the ahankara, and from that what comes, what emerges, and then the gnanendriyas. It is beautiful. That's exactly where I think I got into yoga. Somewhere. Anyway.
Okay.
So you want to say anything?
No, I think
Vivek sir has a question on his personal chat.
what was that? Can I check that, please?
So for the people who are still here, we'll try and finish another 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, Ujjwal is asking me, is your hair naturally black or you use color? So far, I've been fortunate not to use color.
Why did it go as a personal chat? It's okay.
That's Ujjwal for me. Yeah, thank you.
Fine. Shall we close it, sir? Anything you
Yeah,
want
I
to say?
think so. Please feel free to reach out if there is anything that that you would like to discuss. And
Yeah.
And thank you so much, everyone, for taking time out today, that too on a Sunday evening. So we look forward to doing at least 2 or 3 more sessions because we don't want to put in too much of jargon. We would like that everybody understands and appreciates it more. Rekha ma'am has something, ma'am. Please.
Rekha ma'am has a question. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Vivek sir and Yeshu, thank you so much for this. Actually, I have attended this first session. It was very good. Yeah. And particularly, I liked about that philosophy, like our roots and all. That aspect, I really loved it actually, and got to know about some of those books, actually, literature. Thank you, sir, for suggesting those books and all. And thank you, Eshu.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah, wish to have more kind of these sessions actually.
Yes,
Would
and
love
this
to
is
join.
going to add on to our classes when we can relate a little more better during our classes also.
Yeah, Eshu. Thank you.
So,
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
so here we will end. We will end with a prayer.
Yeah.
Once again, thanks one and all for being here and taking part in this talk. You can leave your comments again more. We'll be circulating a form, Google form. You can leave your comments where we can improve or what you liked more, or what you want to be discussed more of whatever was there today. With that, bring your palms to Pranamasana. Take a moment of silence. Stay with me for the closing prayer. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Nice. You rub your palms, generate heat between your palms and fix on your closed eyes. Gentle pressure on the eye sockets. Opening your hands and look at your palms. Namaste, everyone. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thanks, Isha.